To the government and people of France, for centuries, the proud nation of Burkina Faso, land of the upright people, has stood resilient in the face of exploitation, oppression, and plunder. Our ancestors, whose blood and sweat nourished this sacred soil, bore witness to the systematic theft of our resources, our dignity, and our future under the shadow of colonial domination. Today, as a sovereign people, we rise with unwavering resolve to demand what is rightfully ours. France, the time has come to confront the truth of your history with us and to return what you have taken from the Burkinabe people. The wealth of Burkina Faso, our gold, our cotton, our land's bounty, was not yours to claim. For decades, your colonial machinery stripped our nation bare, extracting resources to fuel your prosperity while leaving our people in poverty. Our gold adorned your coffers, our labor built your empires, and our heritage was pillaged to fill your museums. The artifacts of our ancestors, sacred relics of our culture, sit as trophies in your galleries, far from the land that birthed them. This is not merely theft. It is a wound inflicted upon the soul of a nation, a wound that demands healing through justice. The people of Burkina Faso are not beggars pleading for charity. We are a sovereign nation demanding accountability. The wealth you extracted from our lands was never freely given. It was taken through coercion, deceit, and violence. The economic systems you imposed ensured that our resources enriched foreign powers while our people languished. The neo-colonial structures that lingered after our so-called independence tethered us to exploitation under the guise of partnership. No more. Burkina Faso stands tall, and we will no longer tolerate the chains of economic servitude or the plundering of our patrimony. France, you must return what you have stolen. Return the gold that was mined from our earth and shipped to your vaults. Return the cultural treasures, our masks, our statues, our sacred relics, that belong to the Burkinabe people. Return the wealth amassed through unequal treaties and predatory agreements that enriched your corporations while impoverishing our communities. Repatriate the artifacts that tell the story of our history, so that our children may know their heritage not through foreign lenses but in the land of their ancestors. Compensate our nation for the centuries of labor, resources, and opportunities stolen from us, so that we may rebuild what was destroyed. This is not a request born of weakness but a demand rooted in strength. Burkina Faso is no longer the subservient colony of yesterday. We are a nation awakened, united, and determined to forge our destiny. Our youth, vibrant and fearless, carry the torch of Thomas Sankara's vision, a vision of self-reliance, dignity, and true sovereignty. We will not be silenced, nor will we be swayed by promises of aid that mask exploitation. The era of paternalism is over. We demand justice, not favors. France, you have a choice. You can cling to the spoils of your colonial past, perpetuating a legacy of injustice, or you can choose the path of honor, acknowledging the wrongs committed and making amends. The world is watching, and history will judge. Return what belongs to Burkina Faso, and let us build a future where mutual respect replaces exploitation, where sovereignty is not a privilege for some but a right for all. To the Burkinabe people, I say this: our struggle is righteous, and our resolve is unbreakable. We will reclaim what is ours, not through violence but through the strength of our unity and the clarity of our purpose. To France, I say, the time for reckoning has come. Return what you have stolen, and let us part ways as equals, not as master and servant. Burkina Faso demands justice. Burkina Faso demands its due. Captain IBRAHIM TRIORÉ, President of Burkina Faso, leader of the land of upright people. Notes on the message. Tone and power. The message is firm, assertive, and grounded in Burkina Faso's historical and cultural pride. It draws on the legacy of Thomas Sankara, a revered figure, to evoke emotional and political resonance. Structure. The message begins with historical context, moves to a clear demand for restitution, and ends with a call to action and a vision for the future, balancing strength with dignity. Cultural and emotional depth. References to Burkina Faso's heritage, artifacts, and the spirit of its people connect the demand to the nation's identity, making it deeply personal and powerful. Sovereignty and modernity. The message emphasizes Burkina Faso's current strength and youth-driven movement, aligning with Traoré's leadership style and the country's push for self-reliance. Let us speak plainly of the wounds inflicted upon our nation, wounds that bear the weight of specific injustices etched into our history. In 1896, when French colonial forces invaded the Mossi kingdoms and subdued our ancestors, they did not merely conquer land, they pillaged our resources and dismantled our systems of governance. The forced labor imposed on our people to build the Abidjan-Niger Railway in the early 20th century drained our communities, tearing families apart to serve French economic ambitions. Our gold, mined from the Poura and Essakane regions, was siphoned off to enrich Paris while our workers toiled in inhumane conditions. These were not isolated acts but part of a calculated system of extraction that left Burkina Faso, then Upper Volta, stripped of its wealth and potential. The 1919 creation of Upper Volta as a French colony was not an act of benevolence but a deliberate carving of our land to serve as a labor reserve for France's coastal colonies. Our people were coerced into producing cotton and groundnuts for French industries, with little benefit returning to our soil. The cultural theft was equally egregious. Priceless artifacts, such as the sacred masks of the Bobo and the royal relics of the Mossi, were looted and shipped to France, where they remain displayed in institutions like the Musée du Quai Branly. These are not mere objects. They are the embodiment of our identity, our spirituality, and our history, stolen to adorn foreign halls while our children are denied their heritage. Even after our nominal independence in 1960, France's grip did not loosen. The neo-colonial agreements, such as those tied to the CFA franc, chained our economy to French monetary control, ensuring that our resources continued to flow outward. The 1980s saw French companies like Bouygues and Ballor dominate our markets, extracting profits while our infrastructure crumbled. The assassination of our visionary leader, Thomas Sankara, in 1987, a tragedy many believe was abetted by external forces fearful of his call for true sovereignty, robbed us of a future built on self-reliance. These are not abstract grievances. They are the lived realities of a nation systematically plundered. We demand the return of what was taken during these dark chapters. The gold extracted from our mines must be accounted for, and reparations must reflect the wealth denied to generations of Burkinabe. The artifacts stolen from our villages and palaces must be repatriated, so our people can reclaim their cultural legacy. The economic structures that perpetuate dependency must be dismantled, and France must acknowledge its role in sustaining them. We demand compensation for the labor of our ancestors, who built your wealth under the lash of colonial overseers, and for the opportunities lost to decades of exploitation. Burkina Faso stands at a crossroads, but our path is clear. We are no longer the Upper Volta of colonial maps, nor the pliable partner of neo-colonial schemes. Our youth, inspired by Sankara's unyielding spirit, demand a future free from foreign dominion. Our farmers, our miners, our artisans, they are the backbone of a nation ready to reclaim its destiny. France, you cannot erase the past, but you can choose to right its wrongs. Return the gold, the artifacts, the wealth, and the dignity stolen from us. Let this be the moment when justice prevails over exploitation, when Burkina Faso's voice is heard, and when our people rise as equals on the world stage. The scars of your colonial and neo-colonial legacy run deep, but they have not broken us. Instead, they have forged a nation resolute in its pursuit of justice. The exploitation of our uranium in the Tambao region, siphoned off to power foreign industries while our villages languished without electricity, is a testament to the imbalance France perpetuated. The 1970s and 1980s saw French firms like Pecheny profit from our manganese and phosphate, leaving behind environmental degradation and economic disparity. These are not forgotten chapters. They are open wounds that demand redress. We will not allow our future to be held hostage by the ghosts of your past ambitions. France, hear this. Burkina Faso is no longer a footnote in your history but a sovereign nation writing its own story. Our demand is not merely for restitution but for recognition. Recognition of the wrongs committed, recognition of our right to our resources, and recognition of our people's unyielding spirit. Return the sacred Lobi statues and Garunsi ceremonial objects that sit in your museums, stripped of their spiritual context. Account for the wealth extracted during the forced cultivation of shea and sesame for your markets. Provide reparations for the communities displaced and the lives lost under colonial violence, from the suppression of the 1915 to 1916 BWA uprising to the brutal labor camps of the 1930s. These are the debts you owe, and they must be paid. We stand firm, guided by the legacy of Thomas Sankara, whose vision of a self-sufficient Burkina Faso burns brightly in our hearts. Our people are ready to rebuild, to cultivate our lands, to harness our resources, and to restore our cultural heritage. But this future cannot fully take root until the stolen fruits of our past are returned. France, you have the opportunity to choose justice over denial, to build a relationship rooted in equality rather than exploitation. The world watches, and history will record your response. Will you cling to the spoils of an unjust era, or will you act with the courage to make amends? To my fellow Burkinabe, I say, our struggle is not just for the return of gold or artifacts, but for the restoration of our dignity, our sovereignty, and our future. We are the descendants of warriors, the heirs of a proud legacy, and the architects of a new Burkina Faso. Let us stand united, fearless, and unwavering. To France, I declare, the time for half measures and empty promises is over. Return what you have stolen, our resources, our heritage, our wealth, and let us forge a path forward as equals. Burkina Faso demands justice. Burkina Faso will rise.